In episode 6 of House of the Dragon, we saw a couple of strong boys. Daemon living the quiet life, some new dragons, Vermax, Vhagar, and a yet unnamed one, and Larys Strong committing a horrific act of kinslaying. But what does it all mean? This video will explain the episode and all of the Easter eggs I spotted. Spoiler warning if you have not yet seen it. The episode kicks off with a 10-year time skip, with a few of the main actors and actresses replaced to reflect the passage of time. We are also introduced to a number of new characters, specifically the children of Rhaenyra, Alicent, and Daemon. These additions to the line of House of the Dragon are also added to the opening sequence, which is a visual representation of the bloodline. If you were confused at all, I will take a moment to clarify who all the new kids are and their relation to the other characters on the show, as well as list the new dragons. The child born at the start of the episode is Joffrey Velaryon, the brother of Jace and Lute, who are the children of Rhaenyra and Laenor supposedly. Throughout the episode, it is all but confirmed that Harwin Strong is actually the father of the three boys, which is the issue driving most of the conflict around King's Landing in this episode. This creates a massive problem for Rhaenyra and her line of succession. If her children are confirmed to be bastards, the realm would certainly favour Alicent's children to succeed Viserys. We saw a similar issue unfold in Game of Thrones, where Ned Stark discovers that Joffrey was the bastard of Jaime and Cersei. So you can understand that if this information were to be confirmed to the realm, the line of succession gets a bit muddied. We also meet the children of Alicent and Viserys, Aegon, Aemond, and Helaena Targaryen, as well as Daemon and Laena's children, twin daughters Baela and Rhaena Targaryen. With this new generation of Blood of the Dragon, there are also a number of new dragons, most of them hatched through the Targaryen tradition of placing a dragon egg within the cradle of the newborn, in an effort to create a bond between the rider and the dragon. If the egg hatched, it was seen as a good omen and that the child was a true Targaryen, but unfortunately not all the eggs have hatched. The young dragon we see in the dragon pit scene is Vermax, the mount of Jace. His brother Luke has also seemingly hatched an egg, as confirmed by Alicent later in the episode. He rides Arax. In the dragon pit, it is also mentioned that Aegon has bonded with Sunfire, who was the colour of beaten gold, and by all accounts the most beautiful dragon of the age. Although not directly stated, Helaena is also likely a dragon rider by this point, riding Dreamfire. Baela Targaryen, Daemon and Laena's daughter, has hatched a dragon named Moondancer, but her twin sister Rhaena has not yet hatched her egg, despite trying to do so for 8 years. Her failure to hatch an egg has left her feeling left out and ignored by her father. Aemond, Alicent's second son, is also yet to claim a dragon, and like Rhaena, he feels left out. He bravely, or maybe foolishly, ventures into the depths of the dragon pit, where he is confronted by this monstrous beast, who I am guessing is Vermithor, once the mount of King Jaehaerys. If you think you know who this dragon is, comment below. Finally, we meet Vhagar, the oldest and largest Targaryen dragon alive at this point in history. She was once the mount of Visenya Targaryen, one of Aegon the Conqueror's sister wives. Vhagar is ancient and the veteran of hundreds of battles. Laena apparently claimed Vhagar at the age of 15. Later in the episode, Laena has birth complications, and Daemon is presented with a similar dilemma as Viserys in episode 1. But before Daemon can choose a course of action, Laena chooses her own fate, to die as a dragon rider. This scene was amazing and really demonstrated the bond between dragon and their rider. Vhagar is clearly intelligent, understanding the request, but is reluctant to carry it out. In episode 3, Laena spoke to Viserys about Vhagar, saying sometimes the sailors would tell of the dragon's sad and lonely song. I like to think that after being riderless and lonely for so long, Vhagar had found a new lease on life through the bond with Laena and doesn't want to be alone again. The understanding between the pair seems deep, and Vhagar ultimately recognizes that it would be a kindness to put Laena down. With Vhagar now riderless, the largest and oldest dragon might be seeking a new rider. With that out of the way, let's get into the episode, opening with the birth of Joffrey Velaryon, Rhaena and Laenor's third son, named after Joffrey Lonmouth, who we saw beaten to death by Criston Cole last episode. Immediately after the birth, Alicent requests the child be brought to her so that she may inspect it. Alicent correctly believes that Rhaenyra's children are actually bastards fathered by HARWIN Strong, and is sick of Rhaenyra continually flaunting the law of the realm. Throughout the episode, Alicent works to gain a confession that Rhaenyra's children are actually bastards. She believes in doing so, Rhaenyra's claim on the Iron Throne will be discredited, and her son Aegon's claim will be seen as more legitimate. It is clear right away that over the last 10 years, the bitterness and distance between the pair has only grown. Alicent has also fully committed to wearing only green dresses. This has led her supporters to be known as the Greens. Her sons are also seen wearing green, further reinforcing this point. The passage of time has been rough to Viserys, who is now missing an arm and looks like he is literally falling apart. Clearly, he is not long for this world. When the couple arrive back in their room, they are met by Rhaenyra's other children and HARWIN Strong, their real father. It is clear that HARWIN struggles to keep his distance from his children and just wants to be in their lives. However, doing so puts Rhaenyra, the children, and himself in danger. Jace and Luke have selected a dragon egg for their new baby brother, intending for the egg to be placed in his cradle, in an effort for it to hatch. We see Jace and Vermax bonding with each other, and it is made clear that all the other children have claimed a dragon except AEMOND. His brother and cousins tease him about this, presenting him with a pig named the Pink Dread, a reference to Balerion the Black Dread. AEMOND feels an overwhelming urge to prove himself by claiming a dragon. He ventures into the depths of the dragon pit, but is scared off by a large beast. In the following scene, we meet Rhaenyra Targaryen, the daughter of Viserys and Alicent. She seems a bit weird and distant, speaking in riddles with her mother. When Aemon enters, she already seems to know that he tried to claim a dragon again, and when Alicent assures Aemon that he will have a dragon one day, Rhaenyra says he'll have to close an eye to do so, which at first might seem like the ramblings of an odd child, but might actually be hinting towards Aemon's future. This knowledge of the future seems to imply that Rhaenyra has been experiencing dragon dreams, prophetic visions of the future. We know that Viserys and Aegon the Conqueror experienced similar visions, and it appears the ability has passed to Rhaenyra as well. It will be interesting to see if this plot point is developed in the future, so keep an ear out for what Rhaenyra has to say. Alicent grows increasingly frustrated and confronts Viserys about the truth of Rhaenyra's children's parentage. Viserys is clearly in denial, but it seems deep down he does know the truth. Despite this, he tells Alicent to not bring the matter up again, for the consequences of such an accusation would be dire. If the boys were found out to be bastards, Viserys' legacy and the succession of Rhaenyra and her sons would be put into question, which would likely lead to war after his death. Alicent speaks with Criston Cole on the matter. The alliance between the two has only strengthened in the last decade. Cole is clearly still bitter about how things ended up with Rhaenyra. Through his language and the actions later in the episode, we get a glimpse at his true colours. On the outside, he appears to be a noble and chivalrous knight, but on the inside, he is a spiteful, rotten brute. Next up, we meet Aegon, Alicent's firstborn son. He seems like a bit of a carefree narcissist, relatively oblivious to the oncoming succession issues. Alicent tries to instill the hard truth into her son, poisoning him against Rhaenyra and his cousins, asserting to him that should Rhaenyra ascend to the throne, his life would be in danger. As the firstborn male of the king, much of the kingdom will look to him as the true heir, and he would be seen as a challenger to Rhaenyra. Daemon and Laena are chilling out in Pentos, one of the free cities in Essos. The pair fly atop Caraxes and Vhagar respectively. Note the dragon saddles the pair are seated on. Dragon riders would tie themselves to their dragons to ensure that they would not fall off. This plot point will be important in later seasons, so it is good to see a subtle nod to this. They are offered an alliance with the Prince of Pentos, just as Aegon the Conqueror had allied with them during the Century of Blood, a period of time after the destruction of Valyria, where Essos was flung into turmoil and chaos. Each city squabbled to fill the power vacuum left by the Valyrians. Towards the end of the Century of Blood, Aegon and Pentos formed an alliance, and the prince hopes to reignite this old alliance, offering wealth in exchange for protection from the Triarchy, who have reformed and threatened to claim power in Essos and Westeros. Surprisingly, Daemon seems all for the idea and is okay being used as a tool for the ambition of others. He seems to have gained a bit of wisdom as a father, and his desire to conquer seems dampened, being content with doing as he pleases, away from the issues of succession and the political scheming of Westeros. but Rhaenyra opposes the idea. She doesn't want to fight someone else's war, and as Blood of the Dragon, believes they should forge their own path. This mentality seems in line with Daemon's personality from the past, but he seems uninterested and a shell of his former self. Perhaps with the death of Rhaenyra, Daemon will have a passion to conquer as a true Targaryen in Rhaenyra's memory. Back in Westeros, Criston Cole oversees the training of Rhaenyra and Alicent's children. You can see the clear disdain he has for Rhaenyra's kids. The irony here is that the eldest could potentially be his child. If Rhaenyra did not drink the moon tea, there is every possibility that Jace is actually Criston's son. Though personally I think Rhaenyra drank the tea and all of the children are Harwins. But the uncertainty adds a nice layer to Criston, Rhaenyra and Jace's relationship. Viserys and Lionel watch over the training. The pair hope that if the boys train and spend time together, they will form lasting bonds that might prevent future rivalries between the two families. Like most of Viserys' plans, it seems to be working, at least on the surface. But a couple of shoves here and there from AEMOND hint that there will be rivalries in the future. For me, this scene was the highlight of the episode and does so much to develop all of the characters. Criston Cole's win at any cost mentality and disdain for Rhaenyra's boys will likely be passed on to Aegon and AEMOND, who he pays more attention to. While Harwin instills his code of honor, the value of mercy for the weaker opponent, and a willingness to protect his children, even at personal cost to himself. The values that both of these men imprint into the children will likely echo throughout the series. When Harwin shoves Aegon aside, we get a glimpse of Aegon's superiority complex. And earlier in the scene, we also saw that Aegon got easily distracted by two girls passing by, likely hinting that he will get around a bit, potentially fathering bastards of his own, who might further muddy the line of succession. So keep an eye out for that. The scene climaxes with Harwin beating Criston after he insinuates that Harwin is the boy's true father, which is all but confirmed in the next scene, as Rhaenyra uses Maegor's secret passageways to eavesdrop on Harwin and Lionel's conversation. The storytelling in this show is so effective. Not only does this scene confirm Harwin to be the father, but it also reminds the audience subtly of Maegor's secret tunnels that we saw Rhaenyra use earlier in the series, hinting that these tunnels might be an important plot point in the future. Next, we see a small council meeting about growing restlessness in the Riverlands, specifically between the Blackwoods and the Brackens, who we saw in episode 3. There is a mention of Grover and Kermit Tully. These characters are George R.R. Martin referencing the Muppets. They also speak of the Triarchy's alliance with Dawn and the potential threat it has on the realm, hinting there will be a conflict with the Triarchy and Dawn in the future. Before the meeting adjourns, Rhaenyra offers a marriage proposal between her eldest son Jace and Alicent's daughter Helena, as well as the pick of any future eggs that Syrax may lay. Rhaenyra hopes that this act will unite House Targaryen and prevent any future civil wars. Viserys seems visibly thrilled by the idea, but Alicent is not so easily convinced. She offers to consider the matter and pushes the meeting to an end, claiming that Viserys needs rest. This scene clearly demonstrates that there has been a power shift between the king and the queen, evident by Alicent speaking over the king, cutting the meeting short, and leaving Viserys, both symbolically and physically, on the steps to their chamber as she rushes ahead. Lionel Strong meets with the king to resign as Hand due to his son's outburst against Criston Cole. He feels that the actions of his son have dishonored him and his house, placing them in a precarious position, implying that Harwin is indeed the father of Rhaenyra's children. When Alicent pushes him to name the true reasoning behind his resignation, Lionel recognizes immediately that she will use this admission against him, his son, his house, and Rhaenyra, so he wisely declines to name his reason. For this, he retains his position, but will return to Harrenhal with his son to prepare him to take over the seat of their house. Alicent meets with Larys Strong, who has been acting as her unofficial Master of Whispers, similar to Varys from the main series. He puts a plan in motion to have his father and brother killed. His reasoning for doing so is pretty unclear at the moment, but hopefully the series develops this plot point in later episodes. He recruits a couple of prisoners on death row to help him enact his kinslaying. Interestingly, he removes their tongues to stop them from telling anyone about his plan. Most commoners could not read or write, so the chances of them communicating his crimes are next to zero. But there might be more going on here. Some fans think that Larys is capable of warging, just as Bran and Bloodraven do in the main series. He does have blood of the first men after all, which seems to be a prerequisite to perform this type of magic. And all of the rats that we've seen running around could be hinting towards this theory as well, aiding in his information gathering. In the main series of books, we know that particularly powerful wargs can take control of not just animals, but humans. We see this with Bran and Hodor. We also read of a warg attempting to take control of a human, and we are specifically told that to fend off the will of the warg, it is common for those being possessed to bite off their own tongue. The shot of pain forces the invading warg out of their mind. So it could be possible that Larys removing the tongue of these prisoners is a way of ensuring that he can more easily invade their minds and take control of their bodies, but we will have to wait and see if Larys possesses these abilities as the series progresses. He is able to get away with this because most in the Seven Kingdoms believe that Harrenhal is cursed. Back in Aegon's conquest, the house that built Harrenhal refused to bend the knee, and the day that the castle was complete, Aegon unleashed Balerion the Black Dread on the castle, melting the stone and extinguishing the family inside. After that day, pretty much every subsequent lord of Harrenhal died in a mysterious or unfortunate way. To most, the death of the Strongs just seemed to be the latest victims of the curse. Overall, the episode efficiently introduced these new characters, dragons, and the oncoming conflict. But what did you think? Comment below.